Thank you, David, and good evening, everybody. Welcome to a beautiful Saturday, late September night here at McMahon Stadium in Calgary. It is perfect. Late summer, early fall night. Forecast is perfect. Wally Buono needs his team to be perfect. If you look at this game on paper, it does not favor the BC Lions.
Well, Wally's in tough, a place where he used to have a lot of success. He has struggled since moving to BC. But he gets one of his weapons back, his starting running back, former Stampeder, Jamal Robertson, back after sitting out the last 2 weeks with injury. When you talk about running backs in this stadium, you can't help but talk about Joffrey Reynolds, the Calgary Stampeders' all-time career rushing leader. His head coach, John Huffnagel, Wally Buono assistant. He was Wally's offensive coordinator. Had some mastery since becoming a head coach against his former boss, unbeaten now in 3 seasons against Buono.
The 9-2 Stampeders, who are 5-0 at home this season against the 3-8 BC Lions. It is a bounce-back week for both of these teams. Rob Maver getting ready to kick it off. Giannis Davis is back along with Andrew Harris. We're ready to roll here in Calgary tonight. Maver tees it up. BC won the toss, elected to receive the football. And Maver lets it fly. Down to Giannis Davis. Davis finds a seam. Look out! Goodbye, Giannis Davis down the sideline. Will he be caught? Yes, he will. Wow, what a start for Giannis Davis and the BC Lions.
Well, this is exactly where you need to get some big plays when you're BC. Facing the powerful Calgary team, give yourselves a short field with which to work. Nice help here from the special teams. Great lane provided. Adam Leonard, number 44, backup linebacker, provides a key block for Davis.
Casey Printer sets up shop. 73-yard return to start this one. 6 receivers set. The catch made by Geroy Simon. He will move the sticks close to the 10-yard line, and Geroy Simon continues his impressive streak. Now 136 games and counting with at least 1 catch.
Geroy Simon, one of the big parts of this BC Lions offense. As we mentioned, those receivers will all be helped out by the return of Jamal Robertson in that offensive backfield. We're down in scoring territory. Watch Stephen Black, 3 touchdowns in 3 games. The veteran Angus Reid will direct traffic against the many Calgary defensive looks.
Jamal Robertson in a twin back set with Rolly Lamala. But Printers with protection throws it deep into the end zone and overthrows his intended target, Geroy Simon.
This Calgary defense, never a group to give it up too early. Couple changes this week. Tay George moves to end from his usual tackle spot. Mike Labinjo out of the lineup. Guy who's not talked about enough for most outstanding defensive player, Juwan Simpson. He has been a force. Milton Collins on the back end had that interception return for a touchdown last week against Saskatchewan.
Starting lineups brought to you by Rona, proud sponsor of the CFL. Rona doing it right. Second down, Printers hangs in. Again, another overthrow. And almost the exact same route, looking for Geroy Simon again. And that will bring out Paul McCallum and the BC Lions kick team.
Well, and I don't fault the BC Lions for going back to the well looking for Geroy Simon on that corner route in the end zone. Both times he had a step on his defender, just unable to hook up there.
BC Lions offense just 5th overall with 276 points, but they have been getting better as every week goes on. Here an opportunity missed, a chance to take it to the end zone, but Paul McCallum, who has been outstanding this year, 27 of his last 29, puts BC on the board. Before tonight's game, a national anthem with a very special guest. And that is the wife of our Jermaine Franklin, who is on the sideline tonight. Proud hubby after a nice rendition of O Canada. like to see Jermaine sing it next game. Certainly not as well. Paul McCallum now. Boots one down. And the Calgary Stampeders. Landon Talley is back. Henry Burris comes on the field, down 3-zip early.
Henry Burris, of course, one of the top quarterbacks in the Canadian Football League. One of the keys to his offense is running back. Joffrey Reynolds has been outstanding as always. He'll be spelled from time to time by John Cornish. Nick Lewis out of the lineup, injured late against Saskatchewan. Jabari Arthur gets the start in his spot. The offensive line rock solid all year, led by Dimitri Zumpas.
Dimitri Zumpas did not begin the season with the Stampeders. Comes back to the team after being released down south, and of course had such an outstanding start as a young rookie a couple of seasons ago. The BC Lions also with a couple of new looks.
Absolutely. We'll see some new faces on the D-line. Richard Jones along with Khalif Mitchell, both brought in with the airlift this week with the injury to Stephen Williams. Solomon Elamimian, a potential rookie of the year at middle linebacker, as is halfback Stanley Franks. All three of his picks this year have been against Calgary.
Second down and 7. Burris goes to the air. Fires. Strong arm picked off by Dante Marsh. Marsh finally brought down by Jabari Arthur, but the BC Lions get the ball right back.
And this is a continuing trend, Rod. When you look at the first 2 games of the season between these teams, Henry Burris has thrown 4 interceptions against the BC Lions. Dante Marsh steps in front of Jabari Arthur on this one to make it 5. Great job by the veteran corner. And once again, the Lions start the drive with tremendous field position.
Third pick for Dante Marsh. Lions get it right back. Send 4 receivers to the right of Casey Critters. Robertson stays in for blocking help. And Paris Jackson with the reception. Paris Jackson coming off a big week last week, starting to pick his numbers up, but Paris Jackson has not had a good start to 2010. Let's take another look at the pick.
And keep an eye on Dante Marsh, the corner. He's going to drop back. He's covering the wide out in this situation, but peeking in the backfield, sees Henry Burris looking deep, leaves his man, drops off to step in front and make that interception.
Up to the Calgary defense, who have a lot of guys in the box and bring the heat to the sideline, and an overthrow on 2nd and 3. And Casey Critters and his BC Lion offense will have to give way again to Paul McCallum.
When you're BC and Wally Buono, you hate to see these opportunities squandered, given great field position on each of their first 2 possessions. As you said, having to settle for field goal attempts from Paul McCallum.
He has been money, Paul McCallum. 27 of 29. Again, 1 for 1 tonight. Had a streak of 24 in a row dating back to last season. It's like a fine wine. He's getting better with age. The oldest player in the CFL. This from the 42, kick is up, and it hooks in, and it's good again. 6-0 McCallum. Just over 4 minutes gone. The BC Lions have had 2 glorious opportunities to get to the end zone and have been stopped by the Calgary Stampeder defense. Paul McCallum, 2 field goals, 6-0 Lions. Dion Murphy and Landon Talley are back for the Stamps. McCallum. Talley again into the middle of a little scrum, brings it close to the 40-yard line.
Henry Burris looks to turn the fortunes of the Stampeders here, get them back on track. Of course, Calgary coming off just their 2nd loss of the season last week, and a slow start here on their opening drive with an interception on their 2nd play from scrimmage.
There's Burris's numbers against BC this season. Notoriously has not had great career numbers against the BC Lions. This offense, though, has been dynamite all year. First in so many offensive categories. Hand off to Mr. Money, Joffrey Reynolds. And let's go down to the husband of the anthem singer, Jermaine Franklin.
Yeah, I'm definitely taking a back seat tonight there, Rod. Well, Nick Lewis is missing just the 3rd game of his career despite his best efforts to try and get in the game and prove that he could play throughout the week. John Huffnagel said if it was a playoff game, Lewis would be playing, but because he has such a strong record, he has the luxury of not putting Lewis in this game, meaning Jabari Arthur is starting in Lewis's spot. And Arthur said Lewis has been in his ear all week, giving him the different nuances and advice of playing the slot position against the BC Lions. Arthur said he always prepares like he's going to start, but of course getting those first reps with the first unit is definitely a big boost to his confidence that he can do the job.
Well, on cue, Jermaine, Jabari Arthur makes the catch here.
He certainly looks well prepared to be a starter, lines up as the middle receiver in this set. Arthur's just going to run a quick out, knows the hit's coming, but he's a big body, over 200 pounds, takes the hit from Davis Sanchez and keeps going.
Fourth reception of the year. There is the leading receiver on the sideline, Nick Lewis. Stampeders close to midfield. And up the middle, pounding it again. This is Stamps' all-time leading rusher, Joffrey Reynolds. You talk about a guy who does not live up to the moniker off the field of JR Superstar, because he is a superstar, but he is a humble superstar.
Well, he sure is. Mr. Low-key, but Mr. Consistency. Joffrey Reynolds just gets the job done quietly and efficiently, week after week, season after season.
Last meeting had 94 yards against the Lions back in late August. 2nd and 4. Go the Stampeders. Pump fake. And into no man's land. Tad Crawford was there. Looked like a broken route, but Henry Burris saw a lot of white jerseys in his face.
Well, Romby Bryant and Kenyon Rambo, the two receivers to that side of the field, were having a little conversation, kind of looked at each other as the ball sailed well over both of their heads. The feeling that one of the two was supposed to go deep on that play.
Burkdale stands near his 45-yard line on 3rd down now. Averaging almost 46 yards a punt this season. Giannis Davis. Andrew Harris back. And penalty marker as Burkdales was about to deliver that football. Looked like the play clock had expired. Here's Glenn Johnson.
Procedure. Calgary number 45. It's a 5-yard penalty. Repeat, 3rd down.
Carl McCartney, one of the Stampeders' leaders in special teams tackles. Great late round draft pick for the Stamps this year. Man flagged on that play.
Of St. Mary's, Carl McCartney.
Card alive.
So now Burkdale hoofs it from his 45, and it's a high end-over-ender. Davis retreats, now cuts back, another cut. Giannis Davis does some dancing. Did a lot of running and dancing. Only picked up a few yards on the return, a 42-yard kick.
And Casey Printers, as he comes out for his 3rd possession, should expect to see a lot more of this. Red jerseys in his face, just 2 series into this ball game. Look at the hits and hurries that Casey Printers has faced already. This is a trademark of Chris Jones' high-pressure defense.
Three hits so far. A hurry. Casey Printers. Just 5 pass attempts so far. Just outside his 10-yard line this time. First handoff of the game to Jamal Robertson back in the lineup. After missing 2 games, and the BC Lions, while he was away, went with their dual feature back system with Jerome Messam and Giannis Davis. So Robertson comes back in tonight, and Giannis Davis may get some touches in the backfield, but you're going to basically see him more in the return role.
Yeah, happy to have Jamal Robertson back, the veteran back there. The young guys, Davis and Messam, certainly performed well. But Jamal Robertson, when he has had the opportunity, and he hasn't necessarily had a ton of opportunity, it's been very productive, averaging over 7 yards a carry.
Travis Lulay in on short yardage. 2nd and 1, twinned back. And there's the other JR. Again, Jamal Robertson, who one time might have been a Calgary Stampeder, actually signed as a free agent. Never played it down with the Stampeders back in 2001. Then, of course, came back to the CFL and played with Toronto. And after a tryout with Saskatchewan, finds himself the BC Lions this year.
Yeah, and Jamal Robertson, though he didn't get a chance to play in Calgary, spent the year on the practice roster, the position was in pretty good hands with Kelvin Anderson at the time.
We just saw his rushing record usurped by Joffrey Reynolds. Lots of time now for Printers. Can't find anybody. Decides to tuck it and take it and has a first down.
Expect to see more of this from Casey Printers this week. Running with the ball, only 11 rushes so far this season. But Casey Printers, after a talk with Wally Buono this week, told to run more when he sees the opportunity. Here, the middle linebacker, Juwan Simpson caught up in the middle. He doesn't know whether to come up and run support or stay with Jamal Robertson on that route. Casey Printers takes advantage.
First and 10 from the 38. Again, good protection. Slings one to the sideline, and it's caught. Superman G-Roy Simon goes leaping to the sideline with another grab.
Well, this was the one they needed in the end zone a few minutes ago. G-Roy Simon working on Brandon Smith, going to the corner, gets the outside release, presses him upfield, creates some separation to get to the outside. Pass dropped in there nicely by Printers.
Only 2 catches last week for 25 yards against the Hamilton Tiger Cats already. A couple of catches here tonight for G-Roy Simon. Moving up the all-time receiving yardage list. Someday will have his place in the Canadian Football Hall of Fame. Robertson, left side, follows some blocking. Churns for 4 or 5 yards.
And we've already seen at least 3 examples of BC running lead-type plays offensively from 2-back sets this year. This is a benefit they get with the return of Rolly Lumbala, the late cut of the NFL's Miami Dolphins. BC plays Jamal Lee a lot at fullback, and Lee has done a terrific job, tremendous receiver out of the backfield. And what Lumbala gives you is more of a big-bodied lead blocking type.
Second down and 6. Lions trying to keep this drive alive. 4 minutes to go, first quarter. Printers goes deep and has Stephen Black open, but Brandon Browner with his 9th knockdown of the season. And some tempers as well. Dwight Anderson getting into it with Stephen Black.
Well, Stephen Black gets an opportunity on one play to meet both of those Calgary Stampeder corners. First, a terrific play in coverage by Brandon Browner. Dwight Anderson en route to come over and chat a little bit.
So another drive stalling. Paul McCallum.
Good kick.
But he is so good at it, right there. Angling those kicks. Dion Murphy nowhere to go. 6-0 BC. So like the BC Lions, Calgary Stampeders, long field here, but the Lions miss another opportunity as a drive stalls and had to kick it away. So Henry Burris from his 10-yard line now. Potent Stampeder offense hasn't done much so far. And nothing there as Romby Bride is watching the ball sail over his head from Henry Burris.
Well, the Stampeders try to get creative in their play calling here, having established the run, and in a situation where the Lions are going to anticipate run given the field position. They go for the play action, try to get that quick hitter to Bryant. Had a step on Dante Marsh, but just couldn't come up with it.
Wind starting to pick up a little bit here, favoring the Stampeders in the first quarter. Burris calls that play off. 2nd and 10 out of the backfield again, and off of the backside of Solomon Elimimian, the middle linebacker of the BC Lions. And now Burke Dales will have to come out and maybe tempted here in the end zone to give up 2 points. We'll have to see.
Well, Elimimian recognizes late on this play that he's going to have to get back. He's coming off the edge initially on the play, recognizes that John Cornish is sneaking out. That's his responsibility. Gets into position just in time. Good play by the rookie backer.
Again, Dales has the win, so he will let it fly, and he does, and it's a good kick. Sends Davis back to his 45. Giannis Davis inside out, shakes another. Dales has to knock him out of bounds, and Giannis Davis has been a huge factor so far here tonight. Well, tomorrow, the CFL on TSN heads east to Moncton, Atlantic Canada's first ever regular season CFL game. The Eskimos and the Argos, the Scotiabank touchdown Atlantic game. Live coverage begins on TSN, 11:30 a.m. Eastern. Casey Printers to G-Roy Simon, tried to one-hand it. There is a whistle. Brandon Browner scooped up the ball, but the whistle had blown.
A good heads-up play from Browner. You have to play until you hear that whistle for sure on a play where you think it might be a lateral, in which case this would be considered a fumble rather than an incomplete pass.
Definitely incomplete. So once again, Lions getting close to the red zone. Had to call on Paul McCallum twice tonight. As good as he is, as great as he has been this season, Wally Buono would like to see him kick a convert. Printer's in trouble, and he's buried. BC Lion team gives up the most sacks in the Canadian Football League. 36 before tonight.
Well, this is a situation where Casey Printers needs to recognize this pressure a little bit earlier and get on his horse. He's been facing it all night. Even a half second earlier there, he's got a lane to the right where he can escape and possibly run for a first down rather than letting that close in on him as he waits to make a throw. He may just get one or two reads in tonight.
Again, that Calgary defense comes up big. Paul McCallum can't miss this year. Paul McCallum, automatic, 9-0 at BC, but the Lions have left a lot of points out on this field so far. Chris Jones and his Calgary defense last week shredded, especially in the late going by the Saskatchewan Roughriders. It's been a hard week, but Wes Lysak says this Chris Jones defense is one of the best he's ever been around.
If you look at Chris Jones in the last 3 years I've been with him, is all I can speak for, we've ran a drastically different defense every year. You look at other guys who've been successful coordinators, they have a system and they force players to play it. Chris Jones creates a system around the guys that he has and he works with them, and to me that's a sign of a great coordinator.
I love that about Chris Jones and his style. It's a constant chicken or egg question for coordinators in this league, exactly as Wes Lysak touched on. Do you go out and get the players to fit the system, or do you fit the system to the players you've got? Well, it's easier to fit the system to the players you've got if you've got a coach whose mind works that way. Clearly, Chris Jones' mind works that way.
Not too often that Chris Jones' defense comes under scrutiny, but after last week's loss, they have. And Landon Talley saw a seam, and if he had found it, he was gone, but he did not. Sean Gore on special teams. Former Bishop Skaters star brings him down.
Well, Gore has been a factor in a couple of kickoffs now. He's the #1 man on the end. He's working against Justin Phillips. Comes off that block to get in on the tackle. Also made the tackle on the Lions' first kickoff of this football game. And this is how a young guy, highly rated prospect, is going to work his way into the lineup, is by earning it on teams.
Henry Burris and the Stampeders. 90 seconds to go in this opening quarter. Ineffective offensively so far, but Burris hangs in. Lets it go to Joffrey Reynolds on the little swing toss. Hurdles one and picks up the first down.
Well, Joffrey Reynolds gets the first down, but this is all Henry Burris. Calgary's quarterback with a little bit of improvisation on this play. Scrambling around that backfield to buy himself time, and eventually getting in position where he can find one of his outlet receivers in Joffrey Reynolds. Eyes always downfield as he's on the move. Dumps that one off, and away Reynolds goes. Move the chains.
Just their second first down so far. A team that leads the league in time of possession. They certainly have not had the football very much offensively in this first quarter. BC has owned it. There's a penalty flag on the far side of the field.
It's going to be procedure against Calgary.
Procedure, no end. Calgary. It's a 5-yard penalty. Repeat, first down.
Offensively, you have to have 7 men aligned on the line of scrimmage. That no end call means that Calgary only had 6 guys up on the line of scrimmage. This is a risk you get into when you use a lot of different offensive formations, and it's not always the same guy who has to be on the line.
So 1st and 15 from the Calgary 40. Under 30 seconds in the first quarter. Burris zipping one to the far side. R.J. Franklin with his first catch of the night, close to midfield. Good news for BC this week. Brent Johnson, playing in his 162nd straight game, has never missed a game, but it was in jeopardy after this hit last week that everybody's been talking about. Jason Jimenez, his former teammate.
Yeah, Jimenez cut Johnson down. Some bruising, deep bruising on Johnson's, basically from his thigh down to his calf as a result of that hit. Missed a couple days of practice, but he sucks it up on game day.
Hand off to Reynolds, spinning, and second in short yardage on the final play of this opening quarter. Gets the first down. The teams will trade sides, and we will come back to McMahon Stadium, where BC owns a 9-0 lead. 9-0 Paul McCallum and the BC Lions. Numbers brought to you by Tim Hortons, proud sponsor of the CFL.
And the big stat is the one right at the bottom of that page. Giannis Davis, over 100 kick return yards so far, has given BC a big edge in field position. That's what's put them in position to score here.
Henry Burris now. An inside handoff that they use quite often. This time, Romby Bryant makes the play. And, well, you and I are showing off our pink tonight. It's pink power at McMahon Stadium. Looking like a couple of dorks, actually.
We look good.
We look good.
Speak for yourself.
But it's in September. Thank Penny Huffnagel and the Calgary Stampeders. And the pink power is on tonight because the Canadian Breast Cancer Society and the Canadian Cancer Society benefiting from all the sales of toques and scarves here tonight. Wes Lysak is a spokesperson, and they've raised a lot of money, and a lot of people are picking up these toques and scarves. And Henry Burris will be picked up here after Anthony Reddick just dropped him and drilled him.
Anthony Reddick, a big part of the BC pressure package. They tend to use those linebacker DB types. Corey Banks in the mix. He's going to come all the way from the outside, and he's going to get in on this play. Put a big hit on Henry Burris. He runs a long way, and that is a perfect form tackle.
Dales boots it out of bounds, and the BC Lions will now take over here early in this second quarter. We talked about join the fight for life and breast cancer, which has afflicted so many families and so many people around North America, and so many people tonight chipping in, picking up the scarves and the toques, which are very sharp looking. Tailgaters out there, and the Argyle. Now they're fetching on you.
Why didn't we get the Argyle?
Yeah. So congratulations to Penny Huffnagel, the wife of John Huffnagel, and the Stampeders for their initiative here. Jamal Robertson brought down in the backfield by Malik Jackson for a loss.
Malik Jackson has sort of played the role of Robin to Juwan Simpson's Batman in that Calgary defense this year. Always involved, always active. Speedy linebacker, and there you see his numbers. 33 tackles, 5 sacks on the season. Big play guy with a nose for the football.
Setting up 2nd and 14. Printers fumbled it. Calgary has it. Jackson had it in his mitts, and the Stampeders look like they have the football. Calgary ball. Casey Printers never really had it from the get-go. And coming away with the football is Mike Landry, who's spent a lot of time on the practice roster this season.
Mike Landry comes from depth, even though he's a defensive tackle on the play. The Lions, or the Stampeders, experiment with a few different looks, as we've come to expect from Chris Jones. Perhaps a little bit of confusion. Casey Printers taking his eye off the football, perhaps, as that snap was coming up.
But an offside pass on Calgary. It's still Calgary's ball, first down. Yeah.
Hey, G, they're going quick count now. That first one,
This Calgary team that has feasted on turnovers this season, 110 points, first in the CFL off turnovers, and you talk about perfect position inside the red zone, where they also lead in red zone proficiency, 31 for 50 for touchdowns. Burris, Bryant spins, fumbled the football, and it's still loose. And the officials are saying it's Calgary ball. Robbie Bryant fell on the football, was actually underneath his butt, and it was loose.
Robbie Bryant spins off. Definitely a fumble. The ball was between his legs as he was down on the ground. Tough to say exactly when possession was determined, but Bryant was holding the ball between his legs after he lost it. Ball's out there before he's down.
There it is.
There
right
it is.
So able to hang on. Ryan Phillips down and hurt on the goal line. That's where Calgary will
first guy to actually
football
spot
there.
it. Davis Sanchez was the first guy to spot it and put his hands on it.
So an injury on the field. Stampeders a yard away from the first touchdown of the game.
Take another look at the fumble and try to determine who came up with possession on this play. The ball stuck between the legs of Robbie Bryant. Davis Sanchez gets his hands on it, tries to pull it out of there. The officials are already in debate and quickly signal Calgary ball.
Drew Tate, backup quarterback, in on short yardage. Straight ahead, plunging. No signal yet. It looks like it will now be second down and goal.
Just one final note going back to that play on the fumble is you can't challenge who recovers a fumble. You can't challenge possession in that situation. So that's why there was no fuss, no yellow flag thrown by Wally Buono on the BC sideline. Drew Tate gets a good surge from the right side of that offensive line, ducks in behind his guard, Zupas. That angle certainly appears to have broken the plane.
Second and goal. Tate again. With a pitch to Reynolds. The bounce off, the fumble. Talk about a big defensive play by the BC Lions.
Oh, this is why you love having those veterans in your lineup. Davis Sanchez, the wide side corner, sniffs this play out in a hurry. A lot of people fooled by the option coming in this situation. Sanchez coming from the top of your screen and beelines to beat the block of R.J. Franklin, put the initial hit on Joffrey Reynolds.
So it will be third and goal now. So Rob Maver, the rookie, will come out to put on 3 points for the Calgary Stampeders. Maver from a sharp angle. And can you believe that? Hit the top of the upright. And he gets nothing. Off the goalpost. The Calgary Stampeders get stuffed at the goal line, and then Rob Maver, way up on the upright, hits it. And when you hit that goalpost, which is still wavering, you don't get any points.
No dead ball as soon as it hits the goalpost. The miss from 18.
Rob Maver just 50% after such an outstanding start to his rookie campaign.
Well, the BC Lions dodge a bullet with that missed field goal. Keep the Stampeders off the scoreboard. Both teams, though, seeing a little bit too much of their field goal kickers spending not enough time in the end zone when they're given the gift of good field position.
2nd down and 6 for the Lions. We're near the bottom of the CFL in most offensive categories. Passing numbers have gone up the last 5 games, though. Printers has lots of time here. Here's the rush now. Flushed. Down he goes. Down goes the football again. And the Lions are able to recover. Andrew Harris, make that on top of the football at the very end of the play.
The guard, Javon Olafioye, the man who comes up with it. But this, to me, is another situation where Casey Printers needs to decide earlier on to take off with the ball. There's an opportunity, but once they close in too much, it's going to be too late to make that decision.
Another 2 and out for Casey Printers. Almost blocked by the Stampeders. Dion Murphy going to his right now. Tag Crawford downfield quickly. Guns him down at the 40-yard line.
The Calgary offense looks to get things turned around. BC defense, on the other hand, wants to continue pick up where they left off on the last series. Calgary in great field position. They stuffed them 3 straight. Concludes with the missed field goal. Beats. Big win on that last possession for the BC defense. Need to continue that to gain some confidence against Calgary.
Henry Burris, 2nd in the league in passing. Dangerous toss. Romby Bryant has the football, but the official on the sideline says it was incomplete.
Henry Burris threw that one with Corey Banks right in his face. Banks might have jumped the snap a little bit, though.
It will be offside against BC.
Offside. BC number 24. 5-yard penalty. Repeat, 1st down.
See that ball hit the turf just as it got to Romby Bryant.
Corey Banks has had an outstanding season. 5 sacks, an interception, 3 fumble recoveries. Often on the edge. Guy in the backfield most of the season. Stays out this time. Burris, long toss, downfield. Romby Bryant lunging for it. Couldn't make the grab.
Well, Romby Bryant with a great burst to the football on this play. He's just using his speed to get going on this one. Single receiver to that side, and he's just going to go. Use his wheels on this play to get open. Gets inside the defender. The corner, Dante Marsh, and gets a step. Looked like he had a shot at it. The ball just went through his hands.
Romby Bryant with 7 touchdowns this year. One of Calgary's leading receivers. Last season did not have a touchdown in his time with Winnipeg and Calgary. Play action. We'll pump again from Burris. 3 tacklers in the vicinity, and this time Romby Bryant hangs on and moves the yardsticks into BC territory.
Calgary had some play action on. A lot of movement in the backfield. John Cornish, the running back in the backfield. Cornish is the 2nd man through. Didn't get the ball, and see his reaction. Pumping his fist because he felt there was a wide open lane there. It's that zone read. He felt Burris should have handed him the ball on that play.
Cornish has seen a lot more time this season. This time gets the football, but no open space.
Yeah, this time he's wishing Hank had kept it. BC defense, nice job flowing to the football. forcing Cornish to keep running laterally, not letting him get upfield.
Loss of 3 yards on the play. Will be 2nd and 13 for Calgary.
We'll look again at this one. Cornish is going to be the man who comes around on that path, second man to fake the handoff. And there he is. Didn't get the handoff. Look at all the space in front of him.
Burris with an audible. Sends out 5 receivers. To the sideline and overthrows Kenyon Rambo. First attempt for number 85 so far in this ball game, with just over 6 minutes to go before halftime. And once again, Burke Dales will come out to punt it away.
Well, Rambo is one guy that Burris sure hasn't missed very often since getting number 85 back in the lineup. Rambo missed the first 4 games of the season, but has over 600 receiving yards in just 7 games. He's been over 100 3 of his last 4 outings.
BC sets up the return. Jonas Davis. Nowhere to run, going backwards. Now takes it forwards, knocked it out of bounds. Rob Cote knocking him out of bounds. Calgary Stampeders still scoreless.
Patience is wearing thin on the Stampeder sideline with the offense. After the last couple of series, there's been a few smashed helmets on the bench. No need to mention the profanities, but even Dave Dickinson, who has a calm, cool demeanor, raised his voice, told his offense to get it going. Rob Maver has been pacing the sideline since, and he's actually heard a couple of heckles from the home crowd, him and Birkdale. So things aren't looking pretty here on the Stamp sideline.
Hey, 9-2. Lots of football left.
High expectations come with that success.
You got that right. Printers in the play action. Rolls and throws. And once again, it's G-Roy Simon.
Again, G-Roy Simon puts on a clinic in terms of route running, pushing the defender Brandon Smith upfield before breaking it out.
Calgary Stampeders not used to being silenced in the first half. And look at what's gone on so far tonight. Defense has done a good job, though. 9 points could be a lot worse. Lions had some really good chances early on. Jamal Robertson ripped to the ground. Juwan Simpson in on the tackle.
Once again, the Lions go to that power game, getting big Rolly Lambala in the backfield. Bring in the extra offensive lineman, Jesse Newman, former Stampeder, facing his old mates. Just looking to pound the ball a little bit here against Calgary.
Second down, 7 yards. Away from a first down. Draw play to Robertson. Looks like he's going to be 1.5 yards or so short.
Again, though, a good play call from the Lions. Their offensive coordinator, Jacques Chapdelaine, mixing it up. Keeping Calgary defense honest, going to that draw play in a situation, 2nd and long, where everybody's anticipating it's going to be a pass.
So Casey Printers wants his offense to stay on the field, but Wally Buono is not going to agree with his quarterback. He's going to send out Paul McCallum. It's been a first half of field position so far. It's 3rd and almost 2 yards. So McCallum will come out.
Well, Wally recognizes that, and the opportunity to potentially pin Calgary deep and maintain that edge and field position is huge.
Calgary sets up the return. McCallum with the win, down to Dion Murphy at his 15. Murphy shakes one and another. There's a penalty flag, the 15-yard line. Jason Araki, one of the best special teams players in recent history, down to make the tackle.
And that flag likely is going to be for an illegal block against Calgary and is going to leave the Stamps in the shadow of their own goalposts again.
Illegal block. Calgary number 27. That'll be 10-yard penalty from the ball was caught. First down.
Brandon Browner, the man who gets flagged for a block to the back of Anthony Reddick.
Another hole for the Calgary offense. Long field. Their 4 minutes left in a first half that has not gone their way. Coming off a loss in overtime in Regina last week. A game they had in control. Boris, and picked off. Corey Banks has the touchdown. Henry Burris can't believe it.
Well, this is a phenomenal defensive play by Corey Banks and a perfect example of what makes number 24 for BC one of the best defensive players in the league. There are crossing routes that are going to happen in front of Banks. Banks is responsible for the second crosser on this play, but he knows the play's going to the guy who's coming to him. He just switches off. So there are two guys on Romby Bryant, cuts in front of Bryant to make the pick.
Spectacular interception from Corey Banks. And there is a challenge flag just before the convert, the point after. John Hufnagel throwing the challenge flag.
60 minutes.
Feeling perhaps that Corey Banks was down. He was down, but he was not touched, it looked like. Corey Banks with a spectacular pick.
Well, what Calgary's arguing here is that the collision with Bryant knocked Banks down. That should qualify as a tackle.
And we've seen that play before a couple of times this season. And so Glenn Johnson will talk to command.
Calgary is challenging the ruling on the field. They believe the player was down by contact prior to going into goal. We'll review it.
Take a look again, Dwayne.
Corey Banks, just as he makes the interception, is knocked down by Romby Bryant. It's simultaneous here. There's Corey Banks. Watch, he starts following his crosser on this play, Jabari Arthur, but recognizes that the intended receiver is the other crosser, completely leaves Arthur alone to go step in front of Bryant. That collision happens just as the interception happens, and that's the key, is whether contact is made while Banks has the ball.
I don't know.
The Stamps, I think, are going to win this one. So I think if you look at it, if this was a receiver catching the ball in this situation and went down as opposed to an interception, I think they'd rule him down.
Yeah, his hand was there as well. So see how it is interpreted by Jake Ireland at CFL Command back in Toronto. We look at a variety of screens and we'll relay the verdict to Glenn Johnson here tonight. Either way, it's a pick.
What BC needs to hope is that the ruling is that the contact came before he caught the ball, but really it's at the same time. And that's what I think works in Calgary's favor here.
What a season Corey Banks is having, though.
Again, it seems like Corey Banks does this every year, particularly the last couple since moving to that sort of nickel linebacker position.
Corey says it's a touchdown. Let's see if it is or not.
After review, the player did intercept the ball, but he was down by contact just about the 5-yard line. It'll be first down BC just outside the 5.
Now this is a big win on that ruling for Calgary when you consider the trouble that BC has had punching it into the end zone in this football game.
And the trouble they have had offensively dating back to last week when they gave up the football 5 times in the last 16 minutes against the Hamilton Tiger Cats. They still look a little shaky offensively tonight.
Well, if there's ever a time to end that offensive skid, now's the time. They've looked twice to G. Roy Simon going to the corner in the goal line situations. Keep an eye on 81.
Printer's in trouble again and wrapped up. Lost the football. Calgary has it.
And how huge is the challenge?
Oh, my goodness. Darius George with the football. What a turn of momentum.
And the turn created by a coaching decision by John Hufnagel to throw that challenge flag.
And keep in mind, a challenge flag that was thrown about a millisecond before Paul McCallum kicked the point after.
Yeah, had that extra point been kicked, it would have been too late. Miguel Robide, Canadian defensive tackle, the man who makes the sack. Darius George leaps on that football.
Another fumble from Casey Printers. Turnovers plaguing the BC offense for the last couple of weeks. Now the Stampeders. Henry Boris. And he is brought down. 3-minute warning on the field. 9-0 Lions.
Keep an eye on the bottom of your screen. This is John Hufnagel. Seconds, he's in the black. This is seconds before the ball is snapped for the extra point. He throws that yellow challenge flag just in the nick of time. We've seen the turn of events that resulted from that successful challenge.
Well, now the Calgary Stampeders have to make good on the challenge. Prevented a possible touchdown. Another turnover by the Lions. And still have yet to score here. And have struggled offensively. Jabari Arthur cannot haul that in. Second time Arthur has been thrown to tonight.
Arthur in the lineup in place of the injured Nick Lewis. You look at the turnovers, a little bit of deja vu. Going back to last week for the BC Lions, Casey Printers, the late fumble recovered by the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Fast forward to tonight, sacked by Miguel Robide, fumble recovered by Terrius George, deep in Calgary territory.
Just over 2 minutes to go before halftime. Burke Dales from his 10-yard line. Great kick against the wind sends Giannis Davis to his 35 into a sea of red. 55-yard punt. Rob Cote bringing him down along with Carl McIntyre. And even though the BC Lions have a lead, there's concern on the sideline, certainly, and that's why Casey Printers isn't coming out for this offensive series. Travis Lule now into the game. Keep in mind that Casey Printers has fumbled the football 3 times tonight, twice recovered by the Stampeders. So Lule, who played in the last meeting between these two teams on August 27th, in relief of Printers, who got hurt on a hit by Miguel Robide. Lule dodges one. Here's the pursuit.
Well, this is one thing that Lule is going to do a little bit more readily than Casey Printers, and that's take off with the ball, force the Calgary defense to stay honest, play contain, and not just unleash the hounds after the quarterback in pass rush situations.
Here is Lule and Brandon Isaac. Boy, he's got some speed. You saw it in the opening kick tonight. He chased down Giannis Davis. Otherwise, Davis was in the end zone. Isaac able to get to Lule there. 2nd down and 5 for the Lions. Blanket coverage. And a penalty flag. Brandon Smith is going to be whistled for interference on G. Roy Simon.
Well, this one at initial look is a real close call. G. Roy Simon turned Brandon Smith out initially, inside out on that route.
Pass interference, Calgary number 26. First down at the point of the foul.
Second receiver from the top of the screen crossing the 40-yard line. At first glance to me, it looks like a pretty good defensive play. That pass interference, always a judgment call.
Tight formation now, twin backs for Lule behind center. 1st and 10 from the 28. Hand off to Jamal Robertson. Big collision head on with Juwan Simpson.
Good physical run from Jamal Robertson. Again, the Lions pounding the football a little bit more here tonight than what we've become accustomed to from them.
5-yard pickup. 8 carries, 31 yards for Robertson, who averages 7.2 yards a carry. 2nd and 5. And another big defensive stand by The Calgary Stampeders, and once again by George, it's Terrius who makes the tackle, and that will bring out Paul McCallum.
Well, the Calgary defense appeared to read the motion very well on this play, recognized what was coming at them. They had this one completely stuffed up on the front side. Those guys playing new positions on the defensive line. Miguel Robide getting the start at tackle. Terrius George bumping out to end.
Timeout, Calgary.
Doing a tremendous job. Robide, the former #1 overall pick, 2005 CFL draft. Really making his contribution these last couple of years, getting more of an opportunity to play on the D-line.
Calgary takes a timeout here. A minute 30 to go. We'll get the football back. A chance to put some points on the board, a rarity. Stampeders shut out in a half. McCallum looking to make it 4 for 4 tonight. And he does. Only 2 misses all season. And dating back to last season, Paul McCallum's numbers astonishing. 44 for his last 46.
We'll take a look back at the play that ended this drive for the BC Lions. Emmanuel Arsenault is going to come in motion on this play. His job is to come and block the end man. That's going to be the defensive back, steps up from depth. He misses his block, and as he tries to recover, Arsenault ends up being the guy who gets in the way of the play. Jamal Robertson allows the defense to recover.
Burris in trouble in the pocket. The catch made by Dion Murphy. Move the yardsticks. A minute 20. Plenty of time here for the Stampeders. Will they get on the board before halftime?
Well, we've talked throughout this game from the opening BC drive about the regrets they're going to have about not being able to get the ball in the end zone.
Henry out of the pocket. Decides to take it. A little hook slide. And Corey Banks is right there.
To no one's surprise, number 24, Banks, fights off the block to get in on that play.
If you had to have a poll of names mentioned most often in a broadcast this season, Corey Banks would certainly be among the top 3. Probably Chip Cox in Montreal would be one.
Those are absolutely the first 2 names that came to mind. 2 guys playing the same position.
2nd and 8. Big down here. Out pattern. Dante Marsh keeping it away from Kenyon Rambo, who has also been silenced. So 48 seconds left, and another punting situation for Burke Dales. And the BC Lions can actually get another shot at putting some points on the board.
Especially when you consider the kick return success that Giannis Davis has had in this football game. Last time out, BC tried to punt the ball away from Davis. They tried to punt to the wide side when he aligned to the short side to limit his return. So now BC has gone to 2 men deep with Andrew Harris joining him.
6th time the Stampeders have punted in the first half. And reversing field, but nowhere to go is Andrew Harris. John Simpson sprinting downfield, and Travis Lulay will continue here for the BC Lions in these final seconds of this first half.
Right at the end of this play, John Cornish in on special teams. Gets into it a little bit with the rookie Stanley Franks. Cornish, the veteran, knows when to walk away. Usually a pretty good indication is when the guy in the black and white striped shirt is approaching.
Good point. Lulay in the shotgun. Low snap. His goal line will throw it out of bounds.
Pass intended for Wally Buono.
Told us yesterday, it's always special coming back here. The novelty's kind of worn off through the years. You played under Wally Buono, and time that you really had a bit of a dynasty here with the Stampeders before going to BC. Winningest coach in CFL history.
13 years as head coach of the Calgary Stampeders. Won 3 Grey Cups with the red and white.
KC Printers not looking too happy on the sideline. Lule will have running room. Travis Lule finally takes a hook slide, and another roughing call. Brandon Browner on the late hit will move these yardsticks even further.
And this is something that the Canadian Football League has made very clear. When that quarterback, if he gives himself up with the hook slide, they're going to protect him, and they're going to call every hit that comes after that. I feel for Brandon Browner as a defender.
Major foul, unnecessary roughness. Calgary number 27.
You've committed to making the hit. Just kind of the bad timing award right here.
Yeah, and this is the thing, is you can't stop playing. As a defensive player, you're not sure if that guy's going to slide, if he's going to try and make a cut and get to the sidelines. The only argument you can make that Brandon Browner knew he was going down is if you look at the angle Browner went on to hit him, he was aiming low.
Still a long way to go to get to field goal range, though, for McCallum. But 3 plays, though, for Lule. Here's the rush. Gets hit as he threw it, and threw it complete to O'Neal Wilson. Lule took a real shot, and he is slow to get up.
I don't think Travis Lule is going to let that hit wreck this opportunity for him to get in and play. Nice job standing in there just long enough to allow his receivers to come open. You see the grimace of pain as he gets up off the turf.
Justin Phillips supplying that jolt. Casey watches. Lions try to drive. 20 seconds to go before halftime. A 12-0 lead. Lule hangs in down the sideline. Caught by Paris Jackson, the straight arm. Jackson down the sideline. Dion Murphy finally knocked him out of bounds, but the biggest play for the BC Lions on a great toss from Travis Lule. 53 yards pass and run with Paris Jackson.
Milton Collins, the Calgary defensive halfback, has had a tremendous season, but he's been having fits the last couple of weeks dealing with a couple of outstanding Canadian slots. Last week, Andy Fantuz from Saskatchewan. Here, Paris Jackson comes up with the big play with Collins in coverage.
Bill Collins looking over his shoulder as Paris Jackson gives him the straight arm. So now, 11 seconds. Can the BC Lions, who have been stymied in the red zone, get to the house? Lule in trouble. Throws it away, but it was behind the line of scrimmage, so it was a grounding call with enormous heat supplied in the backfield by Charleston Hughes.
Oh, Chris Jones' troops just seem to have a knack for turning up the heat. Whenever they get challenged, backs against the wall, they come up big.
There's no infraction on the play. Number 46 is in the area. He's an eligible receiver. Incomplete pass, second down.
Second down, but because the Lions did not get to the end zone, Wally Buono's bringing out the kick team again and will take the points.
So the fact that number 46, Rolly Lambala, was nearby where the ball was thrown overrules the fact that the ball didn't cross the line of scrimmage and avoids that grounding call.
This is really a chip shot now for Paul McCallum. 21-yarder, high snap though, and he burns it through again. McCallum 5 for 5 in the first half. 45 of his last 47 field goals. He can't miss right now. You talk about the zone. And KC Printers, well, we see him in the second half. 4 of 9 only, 61 yards, lost the football 3 times. Recovered twice by the Calgary Stampeders as Lule came in on relief. Be interesting to see what the decision is for Wally Buono. Whether he stays with Lule in the second half or goes back to KC Printers, who's had some time to digest this on the sideline.
Well, based on what I've seen, there's no reason for Travis Lule to come out of this football game.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's provided exactly the spark BC needed. Still, no touchdowns, but they've moved the ball and they've avoided turning it over, which is the biggest reason that Casey Printers isn't still out in that offensive huddle.
And here's the biggest number, 0. The Calgary Stampeders in their offensive capability, #1 in so many categories. And for the Stampeders, shut out through 2 quarters. Squibbed kick. And the final play of the first half, owned by Paul McCallum and the BC Lions defense. 15-0. 15-0 heading into the second half. Jermaine Franklin now with Calgary safety Wes Lysak.
Wes, can you talk first of all the play of the defense? Obviously, you guys were put in tough positions, but you managed to limit them to field goals.
Oh, that's our job. You know, we're supposed to hold them when we have the opportunity to do that, and regardless of where we're on the field, we execute our job, and we did a good job of that in the first half. But we need more.
Can you talk a little bit about the faith that you guys have in your offense, and what is the key for you as a defense to continue the success you've been having against the BC Lions?
Well, I told our guys at halftime, we continue to hold them to 3s. I know our offense is going to get 7s. I'm not great at math, but I know that we come out on top.
Thanks, Wes.
Okay, buddy.
Well, you don't have to be that great at math to consider it. Henry Burris and the Calgary Stampeders and Jock Climbey talked about it. They put up serious numbers this season, almost 500 yards in offense per game. Nowhere near that so far here tonight, Dwayne.
No, held under 100 yards, 85 yards of total offense in the first half from the Calgary Stampeders. Wes Lysak and the D are holding up their end. The problem is Mike Benavides' D is playing pretty well for BC as well.
Both defensive coordinators coming up with great game plans so far. Landon Talley is dragged down at his 31-yard line. So Henry Burris and the Stampeders, one thing they also did not do is utilize Joffrey Reynolds, the leading rusher in Stampeder history. Only 4 yards in that first half, and during halftime, Calgary Stampeders honoring Joffrey as the all-time leading rusher.
Yeah, Joffrey there with team co-owner Ted Hellard. Certainly
got to go to his birthday party.
The fans. How can you turn down that invitation?
Yeah. Right away they go to Reynolds, who picks up more yards practically on that carry than he did the entire first half.
Well, perhaps that little ceremony at halftime was a not so subtle reminder about who the guy is that makes this offense tick.
Joffrey Reynolds, 94 yards last game against the BC Lions. 8-yard gain that time, 2nd and 2. And Drew Tate comes in for the short yardage play.
Double tight end.
Hey, you got a yard?
Tate lunging forward, and a penalty flag down. May not have been aligned, as you heard some of the players say, not a yard off the ball of scrimmage, off the line of scrimmage, off the ball. So we'll see what Glenn Johnson has to say here.
Offside, BC on the defensive line. 5-yard penalty, first down.
Just like that. Quickly, another first down for the Stampeders. Not have any big plays offensively in the first half. Goal line stand by the BC Lions. And an upright that was nailed by their field goal kicker, Rob Maver. That was the extent of their offense. Jabari Arthur tripped up, brought down. Davis Sanchez with the final hit. Corey Banks with the initial blow.
The Calgary Stampeders look to get things going here. They're being held pointless in the first half for the first time in over 3 years. July 12th, 2007. Last time they were shut out in the first 30 minutes of a ball game.
John Huffnagel knows, though, that you cannot hold first place team, a 9-2 team, down too long. And Wally Buono knows that too. Dangerous team. However, without Nick Lewis tonight, pump and go here. Nice catch by Rob Cote.
Henry Henry Burris does a nice job progressing through his reads here. He looked at a short route first out in the flat before going to his tight end Cote further downfield. He's looking first out here in the flat. Second, he's got Cote further downfield. That flat is covered. Cote's open. Veteran quarterback gets it done.
One-time junior footballer, Victoria. Rob Cote, first down from the 37. Burris, loads of time here. Nobody near him. And will step out of bounds in front of Anton McKenzie.
This is nice recognition of his position on the field by Henry Burris as he gets outside of the pocket. Realizes as he starts to sneak out a little bit, he froze Anton McKenzie with that pump fake. When McKenzie froze, Burris got outside of him. He realizes then he's got a bit of an edge because no one's containing him. And he takes off with the football.
2nd and 2. Short yardage play this time. Burris stays in. Play action again. Out of the backfield again is Cote. Knocked down by Solomon Elimimian, but another first down inside the red zone.
Although he's listed as a fullback, Cote's primary role in this Calgary offense is as a receiver. He's coming right at you. Motion across the backfield out into the flat. Nice adjustment to the football from the fullback. Turns it up.
16 yards on the play. Again, the Stampeders on the goal line in the first half, came away empty after a field goal attempt later hit the upright. When they find the end zone here, Burris in trouble, has to throw it away.
None other than Corey Banks with the hurry.
Corey Banks, ongoing conversation tonight with Henry Burris, and they've been able to chat a lot because Corey Banks has been near #1 a whole lot.
Banks has got a mismatch as he came off the top of the screen working against the right tackle, Edwin Harrison. Much bigger man, but Banks beats him in the pass rush situation to pressure the quarterback.
Let's see if the BC defense can do what the Calgary defense did. Limit the Stampeders to a field goal attempt. A key second down here inside the red zone. To the backfield, Kenyon Rambo's first catch. It held well short of a first down.
Kenyon Rambo didn't get a lot of help from the rest of the posse out there after he caught the hitch screen. Rambo's the man in motion deep in the backfield. He's going to catch the pass. He's got 3 guys out in front of him to block 3 defenders. Missed one. That's Stanley Franks. He's the guy who makes the tackle. Mike Benavides, the architect of this BC defense. It's held tough here so far tonight. Really being challenged at the moment.
Rob Maver, second attempt of the night. This one through. Gets the Bronx cheer. Almost 5 minutes gone in the second half, and the Calgary Stampeders finally have put up their first points. Andrew Harris, Giannis Davis back to return the kick from Rob Maver. 1 for 2 tonight. 15-3. It's been all kickers so far. Allen with all 15 points. Short hopped. Harris has to pick it up. And he gets a block and some room. Harris to the 35 and steps out of bounds into the Calgary bench. Collides with Dion Murphy, and there is a penalty flag near midfield. The return by Andrew Harris was a good one. He very easily could have been stopped in his tracks.
Well, that bouncing ball affected the pursuit. The Calgary Stampeders were trying to figure out what this flag is going to go for as to whether it's a late hit or not, because Cornish certainly laid off.
There's no infraction on the play. First down.
Never mind. Wally Buono thought there should have been a penalty, maybe a roughness on the sideline. Well, stall drives for the Calgary Stampeders and the BC Lions in the first half, but BC certainly had a chance to put a lot of points on the board. That was a factor. Possible 42 points there, only 15. Travis Lule draws the Calgary defense. Calgary saying it was BC that moved.
Well, Emmanuel Arsenault crossed the line of scrimmage for BC as well.
The BC Lions certainly done a good job controlling the dynamic, electric offense of the Calgary Stampeders. They have not been able to finish. No one's been able to find the end zone yet.
We have offside on BC and offside on Calgary. On opposite sides of the line of scrimmage. We're offsetting penalties. We'll replay the down.
That's almost comical, those last two calls, when you think about it.
Well, Glenn Johnson is explaining that Calgary went offside up at the top of the screen. BC went offside at the bottom of the screen. The suggestion with the offsetting calls rather than labeling one or the other as drawing the other team off is that they had nothing to do with each other.
Offsetting, offsides. See that very often. Jamal Robertson tries to follow a block. Pounds for a couple of yards. Both Robertson and Reynolds, both JRs, haven't exactly been factors in this ball game so far. And again, credit both defensive coordinators.
Well, it's two of the best in the business when it comes to the defensive part of the chess match. Mike Benavides for BC, and of course Chris Jones for Calgary.
Chess match continues, 2nd and 5. Travis Lule will hand it to Robertson. There's a big play. Robertson scampers to the 45-yard line of the Calgary Stampeders. Pickup of 18 yards.
Once again, BC avoids the obvious in terms of their offensive play calling. 2nd and long, about 6, maybe 7 yards to go here. We'll keep an eye on the right guard, Javon Olafioye, on this one. Gets just enough of Malik Jackson in the hole to keep him out of the play and spring the running back, Jamal Robertson.
Malik Jackson getting up and going to the sideline now, was hurt.
It looked like from that block, Jackson might have taken a knee from Olafioye to the thigh.
15-3 Lions. They're on the move again. (15-3) BC Lions. Pull off an upset here tonight. Penalty flag flies. Lule, and he has got Geroy Simon open, but could not get the football to him. Simon had a couple of steps on Brandon Smith, who converged quickly, but there is a penalty.
As that ball hung up, Brandon Smith did a tremendous job to close and get there and knock it down.
There's no infraction on the play. Number 53 checked in as an eligible end. It's an incomplete pass. 2nd down.
Jesse Newman, number 53, of course, is the former Calgary Stampeder. That's another interesting subplot to this game. Newman, who retired, drew the wrath of some of his then teammates, particularly Nick Lewis, retired, then came back from retirement, then was traded to the BC Lions, and is now a member of the Lions. And of course, huge part of the Lions' Grey Cup win a couple of seasons ago. Jamal Robertson runs into a stone wall. Loss of 1 on the play.
Well, it becomes a little bit less unpredictable to run on 2nd and long once you've done it a few times. This time, the Calgary defense was well prepared for the handoff to Jamal Robertson.
Paul McCallum will return to the field tonight. Both kickers have been out there. In fact, all three kickers have been out a lot tonight. McCallum will let this fly from near midfield. Under 7.5 minutes to go, third quarter. High snap. Booming kick. And what a kick by the cagey veteran, Paul McCallum. What a night he's having. Well, the deepest that the Calgary Stampeders have been pinned tonight. Have to go 106 yards to the BC end zone. And the BC Lions leading 15-3. Third meeting of 4 this season between the two teams. Stampeders winning on both occasions so far. Lions trying to shock the Stamps here tonight. I'm into this game 9-2 on the season. Certainly have done a great job against the run, stifling the Stampeder rush.
A decent first down effort from Joffrey Reynolds on that play to pick up about 6. Ron Williams, another of the Lions who started his career in Calgary before moving on to Montreal.
Second and 4. Hand off again, and Joffrey Reynolds nowhere to go. Solomon Alamimian lost his lid. Anton McKenzie also in on the tackle.
I should grow my hair out like that.
I like that look.
Yeah? Do you think I can pull it off?
How long has it been since you had hair, actually?
Decades.
There you go. Alamimian has been a revelation for the Lions this season. Speaking of revelations, how about some of these newcomers for them? Richard Jones, Khalif Mitchell in the middle. He's a monster. Talking with Rich Stubler yesterday, he was kind of licking his lips about this guy. It's going to be a third down play in inches. There is Khalif Mitchell, 6'5", 320. Cut from the San Francisco 49ers. Kind of flew in last minute this week and immediately put the pads on, went to work, and here he is starting a few days later.
You know what position he plays? Wherever he wants.
Well, he is a big guy. Getting some help from Jonathan Brown. So third and inches.
This is a major gamble by John Hufnagel to go for it this deep in his own territory.
Drew Tate behind center. His big hulking lineman, and Tate. To see, this is all dependent on the spot. And it is a first down. Boy, the initial lunge by Tate didn't look too good.
But there was no obvious forward surge there from the Calgary O-line.
So a gamble pays off for John Hufnagel. Still a long way to go here for the Stampeders. Just over 5 minutes left, third quarter. Down 12 on their own 15. Burris. What a run here. He dropped the football. And BC has it. Dante Marsh with his second turnover of the night. An interception, now a fumble recovery. And Henry Burris lost the handle.
Ronald Flemons, you are not alone.
You are not alone. Burris with a huge pickup here, and then, whoops.
Burris had the ball in his hands in position to throw it when he dropped back to pass. Got out in the open field and looked like he went to adjust it to tuck it under his arm, and that's when it popped out.
Greasy pigskin, and a reference, of course, to Ronald Flemons, who against BC had a touchdown and dropped the football unbelievably near the goal line and had it in his mitts. Now Robertson. Wally Buono, who talked about ball security and protecting the football. Reason that Casey Printer's not in the ball game right now, Travis Lulay. Henry Burris gives the football right back to the BC Lions.
And another short field for the Lions, as it looked like Henry Burris was running his Stampeders out of trouble.
Second and 6. Again, the Lions struggling to get it to the red zone. Lulay hangs in traffic. Emmanuel Arsenault, his first reception. There is a penalty flag. It was right near that catch, and potentially an illegal contact or interference call. Emmanuel Arsenault, who in the last meeting, remember, against Calgary, in mop-up time, got a touchdown and then kind of taunted the Calgary Stampeders with a celebration that drew the wrath of some, and maybe even including his own teammates.
Yeah, ill-timed to celebrate anything when you're on the wrong side of a blowout.
Forward pass interference, Calgary number 33. That'll be a 10-yard penalty, an automatic first down.
Dwight Anderson on the corner. This was a threading the needle throw from Travis Lulay.
Arsenault's second receiver from the top on the play. Anderson man-to-man coverage. Tries to fight through the receiver to get to the ball.
And again, 5 field goals from Paul McCallum. BC has owned the time of possession. Been able to drive it, but just has not been able to get to the end zone. Twin setbacks. Lulay calls his own number. Probably ill-advised at the time. Only a couple of yards on the play from Travis Lulay, setting up another second down call here from the Lions.
Oh, big Mike Landry, defensive tackle, gets involved in this play, number 94. Splits a double team.
The Lions second last in the CFL in second down conversions. Has struggled in this department. Making the grab, but looks like short of the first down, Emmanuel Arsenault. 8-yard gain. About a yard away. Will Wally Buono take the points? Paul McCallum, of course, is automatic. 5 for 5 tonight.
Well, these two teams over the course of the season have been virtual opposites when it comes to the red zone. Calgary very efficient at getting the ball into the end zone while their kicker has struggled. BC struggling to get into the end zone, but their kicker is money. That makes it an easy decision for Wally Buono.
Lulay will supply the hold. This kick will come from about the 27.5-yard line. And is straight down the middle again. Is 6 for 6. An outstanding night for Paul McCallum. Well, here's our sack tally brought to you by the great folks at Purolator. Tackling hunger across Canada. Check. BC Lions with 31 sacks now. The Calgary Stampeders leading the way with 34. Just over 2 minutes to go in the third quarter. What has been a very quiet McMahon Stadium here tonight for the most part. The BC Lions silenced this stadium and have kept the Calgary offense at bay. Just 3 points. Dion Murphy trying to ignite something just over the 35-yard line. And as good as the Lions have been, though, and the 6 field goals by Paul McCallum, you know that's still not enough against a Calgary team that is almost kind of waiting for them to explode at any moment.
Well, that's the thing, Rod. You look at the scoreboard and see 18-3. Well, that's 2 touchdowns, with one of them being followed by a 2-point conversion. So as much as BC has seemingly dominated in terms of field position and opportunities in this football game, it's still a 2-possession game.
J.R. LaRose is down.
Well, J.R. LaRose was absolutely crushed by the wedge in the kick return. LaRose, number 27 for BC, one of their better special teams players, tries to take on the entire wedge. Just gets launched out of there by a couple of big bodies, Steve Middleton and Justin Phillips.
Calgary, of course, tonight missing their most consistent receiving threat as well, Nick Lewis, especially on second downs. Henry Burris and Nick Lewis also comprise the number 2 ranked quarterback receiver combination in the CFL, and nothing against the rest of the offense, and certainly a talented receiving corps, but they seem to be missing Nick the Quick.
Yeah, no doubt. Nick Lewis, as you said, the second down guy, the go-to guy in those situations. Nobody really seems to have stepped up in his place. You see the numbers on those quarterback receiver tandems. Burris, Lewis, number 2 in terms of yardage this season.
Darian Durant and Andy Fantuz and Weston Dressler 1 and 3, and of course Saskatchewan winning in Hamilton earlier tonight in a shootout. To the far side again for Romby Bryant. This is the flattest we've seen this Calgary Stampeder offense, undeniably, in a long time. Never mind this season.
Well, that's not the way anyone expected them to come out following just their second loss of the season. Romby Bryant, the top receiver on the screen, just slipped as he tried to plant and come back to that football.
Very restless crowd here. 4 receivers and a jump on the line, and BC says that Calgary moved. You know, we're a long way away from it too, but this could be a record-setting night for Paul McCallum, who already has so many records in the CFL books. The record for most field goals in a game is 8. He already has 6. We still have another quarter to play.
Right on pace.
Procedure, Calgary, number 65. 5-yard penalty, repeat, second down.
And Corey Banks avoids getting drawn offside on the play. He gets a little help. Banks is going to come from off screen. Right at the end of that defensive line, he gets grabbed by Karan Williams just as he hits that neutral zone so he doesn't cross the line.
So the Stampeders, who lead in second down conversions. 2nd and 15 now, and still struggling. Burris, pressure now. Runs out of trouble. Henry Burris going backwards, and he is dropped.
Ouch.
What a loss. Solomon Elamimian with heavy pursuit, dogged determination, and Henry Burris is sacked just outside his 5-yard line, a loss of 26 yards.
A rough couple of series for Henry Burris, but the question is, who is he supposed to throw it to here? Absolutely no one. Everyone's well covered by the BC defense. This is where Burris has got to make up his mind, either run forward or throw it away. Rough couple of series for the Stampeders quarterback. A fumble followed by a huge loss.
Birkdale's in his end zone already. Kicked one out earlier from the end zone, but will give up 2 this time, and will give the ball back to the BC Lions on the safety. So the score now 20-3. Not a good night at all for Henry Burris and the Calgary offense. Drew Tate now taking some snaps. Might we see Drew Tate in the 4th quarter? Henry Burris, who is the man in Calgary, has been for a long time, but he has really struggled here. Try to find his A game, and it's nowhere near it.
Well, sometimes even the man has an off night. That seems to be the way it's going for Henry Burris so far this evening. It seems that the mistakes that Burris has made, the most significant interception by Corey Banks, the fumble, and now this ill-advised scramble, have all happened deep in their own territory.
A lot of pressure from the opening series. The biggest pressure on that last loss, 26 yards, and the sack by Solomon Elimimian. So BC gets it back, leading by 17 points. And Giannis Davis has a hole. Giannis Davis, right side, finally runs out of room, and once again, the only guy able to catch him is Brandon Isaac.
Giannis Davis has been unbelievable tonight. Right from the get-go in this football game, BC has held the edge in field position. Number 32 is the main reason why. Calgary would love to kick away from this guy, but they can't. Ron Williams gets a nice block on Juwan Simpson to help spring him. They get a guy up on the kicker, Maver. Brandon Isaac, the only guy who stood in the way between Giannis Davis and 2 touchdowns tonight.
16 seconds left, third quarter. What a remarkable night for the BC Lions. Leading the Calgary Stampeders by 17 and not scoring a touchdown. It's almost unfathomable.
Well, no one, you never could have predicted this one going the way that it has gone. For the Calgary Stampeders to be so ineffective offensively. Once again, an off night for the Stamps, but a lot of credit to the BC Lions defense.
Calgary defense as well, only holding the Lions to field goals. Here's another critical second down, 2nd and 12. Final play, third quarter. Lule back to pass. And on the far side again, short of first down, Paris Jackson. So the teams will trade sides. We'll go to the fourth quarter. And Paul McCallum will come out again and attempt his 7th field goal of the night.
He's bound to get it.
Will the BC Lions be able to hang on and get their first win against Calgary in eons? Our numbers brought to you by Tim Hortons, proud sponsor of the CFL.
You look at the numbers, and it really does tell the game's story when you look into it. From a coaching perspective, you always want to win 2 of the 3 phases of the game: offense, defense, special teams. Both defenses are winning, so that's a wash. BC's winning special teams in a big way. That's giving them the field position to get over the fact that they're not moving the ball offensively. It's left them in position to score points every time out.
Wally Buono, though, has been around the CFL for a long time as a player. He was a kicker as well at his time, so he knows a lot about what Paul McCallum's going through. McCallum has been perfect tonight. This would make it 7 for 7. And he missed it wide right. And coming out of the end zone, Landon Talley may want to think about giving up 1. That's Dion Murphy, actually. Dion Murphy might want to give up 1. He does. And Paul McCallum finally misses. So 6 for 7. 2 shy of the CFL record, which is 8, shared by 4 players. Hank Burris is on the sideline, and he will not come in for this series. Who would have thought this would have happened? Drew Tate will now take over the offense.
Well, with Burris struggling, they turn to Tate. Tate is a guy who has earned this opportunity. Effective when he's had the opportunity. 13 of 15 passing on the season. Drew Tate has thrown 4 touchdown passes versus 0 interceptions. Guy who began his career in Saskatchewan.
Second season out of Iowa, Drew Tate. So it's Drew Tate against Travis Lule. And still no touchdowns. And Joffrey Reynolds unable to hang on. This has not been an offensive masterpiece by any stretch.
That one's going to go down as a drop for Joffrey Reynolds. Just off his fingertips. It's been the story for the Calgary Stampeders. They have not made plays here at all tonight.
receivers left. Tate looks over the middle. Goes to his outlet, but a one-hopper on the near sideline. And again, Romby Bryant.
Drew Tate shows his frustration. The low pass, knowing that one's on him.
Well, there is some fire in this. There's some fire in this Calgary sideline tonight. And it's all in anger. Team that has racked up huge numbers offensively this season. Not here tonight. Giannis Davis again. Another cut. Giannis Davis one-on-one with Burke Dales. And he tripped himself up. Burke Dales incurs the wrath of the Lions. Giannis Davis with a 54-yard return. Tripped over the line here. Otherwise, he was gone.
Well, with Giannis Davis leading the way on this return, he's hidden right now. Jerome Messam is the man following him. Messam's looking to get the block on that punter, Burke Dales. As Davis goes down, Messam in disbelief.
Thunder and lightning, Giannis Davis, Jerome Messam, and 249 return yards. Giannis Davis has been a couple of moves, a couple of yards from breaking returns for touchdowns. He's already had a kickoff return for a TD this season. Travis Lulay going deep, but to no one in particular.
Lulay took a pretty good hit from Charleston Hughes as he released that football.
What's up, man? I know y'all got me.
The man of the hour,
What score
Giannis
today?
Davis.
What score today? I messed up. I juked myself.
Juked himself. The Dynamo from San Jose State, 5'7", 190 pounds. The name Giannis translates into Greek king.
I think it translates into Stampeder nightmare tonight.
Exactly. 2nd and 10. Another incomplete pass, and once again, who are you going to call?
Well, thank goodness for Giannis Davis and Paul McCallum dueling it out for Special Teams Player of the Week honors.
Have you ever seen a game like this in quite some time? McCallum missing a rare miss last time. This would be field goal number 7. 2 kickers have kicked 7 in a game this season. Paul McCallum to join them. And again, the CFL record is 8. This one off the upright. Second time we've seen a kicker hit it off the post. So not so perfect tonight for Paul. You think it's easy being a coach in a game like this? John Huffnagel. Buono.
This is where you earn your money.
Yikes. I think several thousand would concur here tonight. R.J. Franklin as the offense tries to get going. Henry Burris back in the ballgame for Calgary. First completion in quite some time. Speaking of things happening in quite some time, Paul McCallum, 2 misses. One off the upright. He hasn't missed 2 field goals in a game 2 years.
It's been at least 2 years.
And only missed 2 the entire season before tonight. Again, keep in mind he's also made 6. And a knockdown by Ryan Phillips, looking for Kenyon Rambo, and that will set up 2nd and 10. Kenyon Rambo, just 1 catch for 1 yard. In the last game, he had 9 catches for 108 yards in late August against the BC Lions.
And Kenyon Rambo, who's averaged about 90 yards a game since coming back into the lineup for the Calgary Stampeders. Just a non-factor.
Defensive contest over the middle to center field, and Ryan Phillips was there, and in his paws could have had the pick.
After giving up a first down on the first play of the series, the BC Lions defense rallies, led by Ryan Phillips. One that Phillips should have had.
That kind of night. Calgary Stampeders have seen far too much of Burke Dales, the best punters in the game, but time after time their offense sputtering. Mr. Excitement again, nowhere to go. Juwan Simpson brings him down. Game story really has been Paul McCallum. He's done all the scoring for the most part. 18 points off the toe of McCallum.
And the defense is getting the job done, while the offenses have not.
Holding. BC number 23. 10-yard penalty for where the ball was caught. First down.
Our game story brought to you by Mr. Lube, and you see that last line, the winless streak. Lions have lost 9 straight, including a playoff game against the Calgary Stampeders, 8 regular season games in a row.
Wally Buono has never beaten John Hufnagel since Hufnagel became a CFL head coach.
18-point lead. 10-yard penalty on that return. Roulet calls for some motion and goes up the gut again to Jamal Robertson. Really only had one burst tonight, only a pickup of 1 yard. Both JRs have been negated in this ball game for the most part.
Jamal Robertson may become a big factor down the stretch. Not a whole lot of production so far, but if the Lions want to play that ball control possession game and run down the clock, will likely be with that big team in there pounding the football on the ground.
Throwing down now, 2nd and 9. Roulet, loads of time, goes deep for Stephen Black, and could not come up with the over-the-shoulder grab. And so now Calgary should get some good field position. BC's going to have to boot this away.
Stephen Black, slot out to the wide side, or sorry, wide out to the wide side.
McCallum, spiraling kick into the breeze. Dion Murphy at his 35, cuts one way and then pushed out of bounds at the 41-yard line. 21-3, BC trying to end a long skid against the Stamps. Still lots of time left here in the 4th quarter. BC Lions enjoying a 21-3 advantage over the Calgary Stampeders. Paul McCallum and Giannis Davis, they've been the story so far for the Lions. Henry Burris has been a non-factor for the Stampeders. Their offense not able to get anything going. It looks like there's an injury on this sideline. Member of the Stampeders staff. Could be dangerous down there, players flying around. Hopefully he's all right.
The Calgary staff in there very quickly. This is going to hold up the game because of the area on the field. They can't risk another play going into the same area while someone's injured.
Exactly, and seen this happen before in games. Staff on the sideline. Off-field official apparently. Here it is again. I look here. It is one of the off-field, and rolled over on his leg, and
And that's not good.
No. Ryan Phillips in on that. You know, so easy to criticize officiating staff so often from our high in the sky. It is such a tough job down there. You're always in the line of fire, whether you're on the field or off the field on the sideline. It is a danger zone. An innocuous hit sometimes, and turn. And they also will have to replace that official on the sideline.
And anybody watching the replay of that injury is not going to be in a hurry to volunteer.
That member of the officiating staff records the placement of the penalties. So we'll have a delay here. It just adds to the strangeness of this night. It is not exactly, you talked about it being a chess match between the defensive coordinators. That might be the best way to describe it. A chess match. I've seen some more exciting chess matches. It has not been a game full of offense, big plays, a lot of drives that have ended for the BC Lions near the 20-yard line. That is why Paul McCallum's enjoyed 6 field goals here tonight.
Well, we talked earlier about the Calgary Stampeders being shut out in the first half. The last time it happened was against Toronto in 2007. The guy beside Mike Benavides in the booth, Rich Stubler, was the defensive coordinator of the Argos at that time. Maybe he's the guy who holds the secret.
There's Rich Stubler.
Now the defensive line coach for the BC Lions.
One of the most respected defensive minds in the game.
Yeah, he was a guy, a lot of people wondered with him coming in if Mike Benavides would feel threatened at having a guy who's considered one of the great defensive coordinators in recent years in the CFL be one of his defensive assistants. The reality is Mike Benavides was the guy who pushed to get Rich Stubler on staff with the Lions.
What a tandem that is, and you can see the kind of defensive effort they're getting, even with the spate of injuries that the BC Lions have had to endure this year, losing Aaron Hunt, Steve Williams most recently, and of course filling in with a couple of raw rookies, Richard Jones and Khalif Mitchell tonight, going out and getting Jonathan Brown, who Rich Stubler knew very well from his Toronto days. Again, they are attending to the on-field official, just works on actually an off-field official. Sunday night football, Jets and Dolphins tomorrow night, 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific. Jets coming off a big win. Miami Dolphins, great start to the new season. It's tomorrow night. Don't forget tomorrow, touchdown Atlantic as well in Moncton. I think those football players are going through a few lobster this week.
I'm sure it's been a great week out there in Moncton for both the fans and the Argos and Eskimos.
Well, you saw the video replay. Jermaine Franklin wishing this gentleman well. And you see the result. Shane Moore is the guy on the sideline. Took that hit, and they've replaced that official now. Hazards of the job, we wish him well. Burris now. Once again knocked away, and Mr. Omnipresent, Corey Banks.
Oh, we've talked a lot about Giannis Davis in this football game as the special teams player of the week. Corey Banks has taken a pretty good run at top defensive player honors.
Penalty flag just flew at the 35-yard line of the BC Lions. And it's going against the Lions. Calgary came on to kick the football away, but let's see what Glenn Johnson has to say.
Objectionable conduct, BC number 24. That's a 10-yard penalty. That'll be a first down.
Corey Banks, the infraction. just when they were going to kick the ball away, and let's see what happened.
Corey Banks is never at a loss for words. Yeah, but
there it is.
Yep.
That's that gesture, and uncalled for and penalized, and now caught by an official. Calgary Stampeders keep their drive alive. John Cornish cutting back left and right, nowhere to roam. And again, excellent defense tonight from that front seven of the BC Lions.
Well, we've seen Cornish a couple times try to get to the outside, and every time he's been forced to just keep running laterally, never given a lane in which to turn his shoulders north-south.
So it'll be another key second down here. BC Lions, who last week really coughed up the game against the Hamilton Tiger Cats. 4 fourth-quarter turnovers, 5 turnovers in the last 16 minutes. Ended a 2-game win streak. 8.5 minutes away from a win in Calgary. Burris has to dodge some tacklers, and he will go and lunge head first. Well short of a first down, so just over the midfield stripe. Calgary brings out the punt team again. And a very frustrated Henry Burris here tonight.
Well, as he started to scramble, Burris had a couple of receivers downfield, but as they have been all night, those downfield receivers were well covered. Burris was forced to tuck it and run.
Henry Burris, who came into the game with the second best percentage in the CFL for passing, second best in yards, second best in most categories, and first in a number. His offense #1 in so many categories. You talk about an off night. Jonas Davis, Andrew Harris back. We'll go to Harris, who bobbles it, picks it up, and down to the 5-yard line. Randy Chevrier down there. And once again, Carl McCartney in on the special teams tackle.
Randy Chevrier, the veteran long snapper, usually left unblocked on those returns. Most teams figure that the long snapper is not the most agile guy, so the returner can make him miss. But with the bobbled ball, Randy Chevrier was able to keep going in a straight line.
Well, the time is now for the Calgary defense to rise up. Have any intention of getting back in this ball game? Will have to be precipitated from their deep. Jamal Robertson, though, bowls forward. Robertson sprints past his 35-yard line.
This is exactly what Jamal Robertson needed to do. This time in the game, when they're trying to run down the clock and everybody knows they need to run it a little bit, Jamal Robertson comes through for his team with a big run. Robertson keeps the legs driving. Terrius George unblocked. He can't commit too soon because he's got contained responsibilities, has to watch the quarterback. Nonetheless, an arm tackle from George that Robertson just ran through.
30-yard gain, 16 carries, 82 yards for Robertson. The Lions happy to have him back after missing 2 weeks.
Guy who's averaged over 7 yards a carry this season, averaging just over 5 a pop here tonight. The question for BC has always been, why can't they get him more carries? I think Calgary defense is going to see a steady diet of Jamal Robertson the rest of the way here tonight.
And here's the thing, too. It's been a game of a field position, and BC really has won the battle of field position, getting out of a huge hole there. And Calgary been able to step up. Might have been able to start an offensive series inside BC territory, but the Lions continue the drive. And it's Robertson again. Chews up more yardage and also chewing up the clock. Travis Lulay in relief of Casey Printers. Both #1s. Not exactly lighting it up by any stretch here tonight. Printers gave way to Lulay late in the second quarter. Henry Burris has been baffled tonight by the BC defense. Under 6 minutes to go. 4 receivers to the right of Travis Lulay, 2nd and 7. Goes to his left to Robertson. Lunges forward and is very close to a first down, maybe right at the yardstick.
Oh, Robertson's going to move the chains with this one.
Well, that's what Jamal Robertson gives you as well. Not only the threat on the handoff, but also on the receiving end of that little lob toss, and he does move the sticks.
As we've seen on a number of his runs tonight, it's a nice second effort to lunge at the end of that one to make sure he gets past that marker.
5.5 to go. McMahon Stadium really half full now. Lulay taking it himself, a good bit of deception, and he took a hard hit from Brandon Browner, but he gets up quickly.
A good decision there from Travis Lulay to pull that football down, run, get what he can.
There's the hit, helmet to helmet. If you went before this game and you looked at all the numbers and broke it down, the analysis and everything else, and you looked at momentum, the fact that maybe the Calgary Stampeders were even more angry than the BC Lions after last week's loss, you would have thought for sure this would be Calgary's ball game. And it goes to show you the unpredictability of the Canadian Football League. Lulay's pass knocked down. Still some hope for the Calgary Stampeders, but it's running out.
Nice defensive stop here. Calgary collapses the pocket with some pressure. Charleston Hughes, the man who gets his hands up to knock that pass down. Force the Lions into a punting situation.
Good boot again by McCallum. Sends Dion Murphy back to the end zone. Will run around and will give up a single point eventually.
Well, this is twice Dion Murphy has fielded kicks in the end zone and has run around the end zone,
taking off,
wasting time when his team is behind.
Yeah, 10 seconds. And Burris is going to remain on the sideline, and they're going to go to Drew Tate. So the Calgary Stampeders, the way it's looking, this is looking like an L here against the BC Lions. This is not the way to go into a home set with the Montreal Alouettes.
No, it's sure not. Of all teams to have to face.
Two first-place teams will battle. Drew Tate. Kenyon Ramble, one of his few catches here tonight. Stampeders don't have any time. They're, again, with under 4 minutes to go, they're going to have to get to this line of scrimmage and use as many plays as possible. Strike quickly, try to get to the end zone.
Stanley Franks was very slow to get up at the end of the last play. The Stampeders probably won't recognize that to take advantage of it.
Play action, Tate. And somebody to get deep. Steps out of bounds. Credit the BC Lions secondary as well. A blanket coverage here tonight. Outstanding coverage on the Calgary receiving corps.
Some of the guys on the back end responsible for that coverage. Tad Crawford, Stanley Franks, Dante Marsh with a big game tonight. Ryan Phillips has had a couple of monster plays as well. This entire BC secondary has been in shutdown mode.
Oh, what a catch. Kenyon Rambo, Tad Crawford helps supply a jolt with Solomon Elamimian. Kenyon Rambo with an outstanding grab. 3-minute warning. Stampeders keep their drive alive here with hope fading. How many fans remaining here at McMahon Stadium? Calgary Stampeders after that catch by Kenyon Rambo. Drew Tate at the controls. Launches downfield, open receiver. Landon Talley will not want to look at that one on videotape. That tells you everything you need to know about tonight for the Calgary Stampeders.
Well, it was the kind of play that the Stampeders needed. One big one to put them in position to score. Obviously, they need to get the yards in bunches at this stage of the game. Landon Talley drew into the lineup tonight with the injury to Nick Lewis. Just had a big opportunity and let it bounce off his chest.
Second and 10 now. Tate in relief, and down he goes. Karan Williams with the sack. Third sack of the night from the BC Lions. Loss of 6, and it comes down to this for the Calgary Stampeders.
Karan Williams lines up inside on this play. He's going to work against the guard, Dimitri Zumpas. Dips his shoulder, gets underneath. Low pad level wins. Straight through to the quarterback, Drew Tate. This is the advantage when BC's D knows that Calgary's got to throw the ball. They're just pinning their ears back and going after number 4.
3rd and 16. This is ball game here. If they can't keep this drive alive, forget about it. Tate, stutter step, that's it. Knocked down again. BC Lions are going to pull off the upset tonight. Anthony Reddick, there's still over 2 minutes to go. But a turnover in downs and so many things going wrong for the Calgary Stampeders. This has not looked like a 9-2 football team here tonight.
No, certainly not the group that rattled off 7 wins in a row. That's Drew Tate's reaction to the last pass, and really probably the reaction of the entire Stampeder team to this football game.
BC will try to eat up some more clock. Jamal Robertson, forget about him. Touchdown. Good night, Calgary Stampeders. 55-yard touchdown. The only major of the night.
Jamal Robertson with the exclamation point. We've talked about it a couple times in this 4th quarter. Delivering exactly when and how his team needed him to.
And all this was really a handoff to eat up some of the clock and ball possession late in the ball game. Well, look at where did everybody go?
Everybody washed to the left. Last man standing back there, second level, Juwan Simpson. But to him, Robertson was hidden behind the line for a second. He was too late to react. And slide over and make a play.
The BC Lions' long drought. 9 games, 8 regular season games. Losses against Calgary will end here. John Huffnagel's domination over his old mentor, Wally Buono, will end here. Wally will get his first win over his former assistant.
And a critical one in terms of the standings for the BC Lions.
Again, if you looked at all the numbers and broke them down before the game, who had momentum, both teams coming off losses, you would not have thought this was going to happen to Calgary. Fall to 9-3. BC, a very important win, 4-8. Again, we still have 2 minutes left. BC begins another critical series, home and home, next week with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Trying to fight the CFL East, possible crossover implications.
The BC Lions are taking their playoff futures into their own hands over the course of these few weeks. But this win is a big one.
Finally, somebody breaks the seal and finds the end zone here tonight. John Murphy. It's Landon Talley stumbling and only up to the 23-yard line. So next week against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, Wally Buono, does he stay with Travis Lulay? Does he go back to the guy who has been starting for him, Casey Printers.
And I have a feeling that Wally Buono is going to go back to Casey Printers. He's the guy who's been his starter. You look at numbers on the season up to this point, and Casey Printers has been better than the other BC quarterbacks in terms of the touchdown-interception ratio and protecting that football. Just the last couple of weeks, he's hit this real rough patch in that regard with the fumbles. Travis Roulet came in and did exactly what you need your backup quarterback to do. Give you a chance, keep things moving. But I think the ball goes back to Casey Printers with a short leash.
With a short leash, and probably in practice this week, working on some ball control drills. He might have that football tucked inside his arms for most of the week because, again, has been prone to give it up the last couple of weeks. As for Henry Burris, the numbers tonight, just 136 yards. Henry Burris is always the most outstanding player candidate in this league, there's no doubt, but he hasn't had an off night like this since almost a year ago.
Yeah, last October 3rd against Hamilton, Henry Burris held under 200 yards, 132 yards passing, just 14 of 30, 2 interceptions in that ball game. Just a blip on Henry's radar.
Yeah, rough patch last year. Keep in mind, this is a first-place team still, and expectations do get huge. And when the bullseye is on you, as Robbie Bryant pulls it in some mop-up time here. You know, one thing the BC Lions have also been watching, and keep in mind, no Nick Lewis tonight as well. They've watched a lot of tape of what the Saskatchewan Roughriders did to these Calgary Stampeders last week, particularly in the second half. BC moved the football tonight, just not with any finish. To the red zone, could not find the end zone. And the BC Lions could have 4 wins in a row with the loss last week. They have played much improved football.
Well, they sure have, and this was what was expected from BC, was that they would improve as the year progressed. A pretty young team, especially along that offensive line and on the defensive side of the ball. And they have done exactly that.
R.J. Franklin with running room. BC in a prevent defense. Final minute, though. Lions, of course, got the first win of the season, lost 7 in a row. Won a couple, then lost last week. And have not been able to solve the Calgary riddle over the last 3 seasons. Last time they beat BC, November 3rd, 2007.
BC.
1-point win. Fascinating conversation with Wally Buono yesterday, talking about winning, and Wally's philosophy is winning the ultimate thing. Are there players that are more afraid to lose than willing to win? And kind of a rhetorical question at times, but his take on it, you played under it, is fascinating. The way he can gather his players in and get them to sip from the same Kool-Aid and make sure that everybody is on the same path.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about a mentality, and you talk about that fear of losing versus need to win, and Wally's a guy who plays to win rather than playing not to lose.
Dion Murphy. Another drop here. 42 seconds remaining. But as you said, I think the key, and a lot of Calgary fans will be upset tonight after this performance, or lack thereof, really, lack thereof. A Calgary team that just didn't get started. Never mind finished.
The opening kickoff return by Giannis Davis set the tone and told the story of this football game.
Tate takes off with it. It'll get down inside the 20-yard line. Tate showing some really good scrambling ability here. And again, the BC Lions are in his zone defense right now with everybody back, so he has a lot of running room.
Yeah, it's always tough to judge exactly how well offensive players are doing in this situation, especially when it's not a drive for a winning touchdown, it's a drive for a meaningless touchdown. You
know, one of the biggest plays in this ball game may have been that pitch to Joffrey Reynolds early in the ball game, and the Stampeders were stopped there. Rob Maver came in and hit the uprights, and it seemed that that team that was still flat never got going after that. There were other plays, obviously, that meant a lot, but in the grand scheme of things, Calgary just never was able to capitalize in the red zone, something they're the best at in the Canadian Football League.
Yep, they haven't made the most of their opportunities tonight. As I said, likely just a blip on the radar for the Calgary Stampeders, and playing against a good defensive team in BC.
Tate to the end zone, and a touchdown for Landon Talley. 9 seconds to go, though, and way too little, way too late.
Well, Landon Talley wishes that his first touchdown
meant a little more.
Yeah, this one kind of coming in mop-up time. Talley, the inside receiver on this play. Hits it running, fakes to the outside. That freezes Davis Sanchez, and back to the inside.
So the Calgary Stampeders go 59 minutes, 51 seconds without a major score in this ball game. If they were angry, an angry team this week, after last week, they're going to be even angrier getting ready for Montreal.
Well, if that's what it takes to motivate them, so be it. I think the Calgary Stampeders under John Hufnagel are a team that, you know, Hufnagel being a Wally Buono disciple, so to speak, are a team that's driven by a desire to be in first place and to play up to that standard.
This team will meet one more time late October. BC Lions will get their first win against the Calgary Stampeders, and John Hufnagel, you know, the entire team has looked a little sleepy tonight. And credit the BC Lions for doing that to the Stampeders.
Well, they really have. The Lions have come up with some big plays again, particularly on special teams and defensively. But that's been enough to win 2 of 3 phases.
Expecting an onside kick. And finally, with 5 seconds to go, through the smoke of the late game fireworks, and there just weren't enough for the Stampeders here. Travis Lulay helps earn the win for the BC Lions. They never relinquished the lead, and Huff needs some sleep.
It's the life of a head coach.
It is.
Not very restful.
And an assistant coaches as well, who pour over videotape, and guaranteed might be best just to burn this disc. Get ready for Montreal. There were not a lot of highlights here for the Stampeders. And they'll let it run out. That's it. Finally, Wally Buono gets a win over John Hufnagel. Finally, the BC Lions get a win over the Calgary Stampeders. It wasn't pretty, but it's a W for the Lions, who stunned the Stamps 29-10.